We drink your cinema.
I drink it up.
We drink your cinema.
I drink it up.
We drink your cinema.
I drink your cinema.
Welcome to Cinema Gulp. I'm Sister Ben.
And I'm Sister John. And today we went to our local chapel and got ordained as nuns. Okay, tell us what you love about God. In 3, 2, none.
What do I love about God? God is awesome!
What do you love about God? In 3, 2, none.
God has blessed me with great looks.
Since we got ordained as nuns, we took a vow of sobriety, so we will be sober for the duration of this review.
And a vow of obscenity. No obscenities.
That's right, John. So with that, let's talk about the new quote-unquote horror film from the Conjuring franchise called The Nun.
Oh, holy fuck, this movie sucked.
Boy, does this movie suck. So, because we're nuns now, we can talk about what a disgrace The Nun is to nuns all around the world, right? I know I'm disgraced. And by the way, stick out your hand. Stick it out.
Okay, Sister Ben, sorry.
That's what you get when you swear during the vow of no whatever obscenities. You get a ruler to the arm.
Well, I vow to watch none of these fucking spin-off Conjuring movies anymore.
So, how much actual suspense was there?
None.
How much atmosphere and creepiness was there?
None. How much did we learn about the mythology of the nun character?
None.
How many actual scares and
None.
fright moments were effective?
None.
Okay. Well,
Sister Ben fucking hates this movie, Sister John.
put out your hand.
Sorry. Hey! I think this movie is ridiculous. It's a piece of garbage. It's obviously they wouldn't even dump this thing out at the asshole of summer. They put it right at the taint of fall. I mean, this movie...
I think I'm going to have to wrap those fingers for that. I don't think you can use that language around here.
They're just body parts, Sister John. But, this movie, on a filmmaking level, looks like the most ridiculous student horror film I've seen in a long time. It's got this awful CGI atmosphere, these weird castles. It looks like it's trying to be the world's worst imitation of a Hammer movie.
Yes.
No scares. None. I want to say this to anyone that thought that this was a good idea. If your sole purpose of making The Nun was to make us scared of nuns, everyone already is.
You were saying this looks like a Hammer movie or a cheap student project. Right from the beginning, I felt like you had scenes of like the fog rolling in by the people's feet. Just looked like music video from the 80s. The lighting was like music video lighting from the 80s. It was just terrible like student filmmaking. It's very pointless. Like, it doesn't seem to really have a point of like why we needed to know anything about this nun character. This nun character, like, we don't want to give away whatever story this movie has, which is
There's nothing.
How much story does this movie have?
I said, how do we even spoil this movie? There's no story. There's nothing. Oh, sorry. I ruined your other nun.
By the way, how do you get a nun pregnant?
How do you get a nun pregnant?
Dress her up like an altar boy.
One of the things I want to talk about is that this movie's not scary because it uses the techniques of a child, something that's not even scary to a child, actually. I mean, how many times are you supposed to be scared when someone's standing up and behind them is a creepy nun, and as they start to turn around, the nun is gone. Ooh, the nun disappears. Right, John? Sister John? So yeah, it looks like a Cinema Gulp's costume budget is just about as high and as creative as The Nun, because this is pretty much the scariest thing you're going to see in that movie. This is actually almost exactly what they use in this movie when nuns are sneaking up behind people. Isn't that right? You are Sister John, right?
Maybe a little light beer in a coffee cup.
There were definitely moments of unintentional comedy in this movie. We laughed a couple times, just because of how bad the movie was and how poorly made the movie was. We both were getting a ton of laughs. And I've got to say, this filmmaker is a very effective filmmaker. I'm going to cover my face so you can't see me when I say something like that, because I don't want anyone to actually believe these words, but he's a very effective filmmaker for 13-year-olds because they were fucking loving this movie. They were all completely jumping at every moment that was a cheesy, obviously set up jump scare. Every little musical cue that is there just to tell the viewer when they're supposed to be excited or have a moment of intensity. None of it worked for us except to make us laugh.
Yeah, there was a girl a couple seats down from me in our row that was, she was going to have a fucking anxiety attack. I was falling asleep during this movie, Sister John. I was not scared. It was never tense. Jump scares come a mile away, and the music, to me, music kills jump scares. Why do they think it makes them better? Most real horror directors don't think it makes them better. Mm-hmm. But
and James Wan is a perfect example. Like the way that the filmmaking techniques on display in the Conjuring movies, the camera work, the way they use atmosphere to set the scenes, the long takes, the lack of music or just the subtle cues of music in the right moments. Like Wan does all of that perfectly with those first two Conjuring movies. So it's a shame that these spin-off movies just use the most basic horror tropes imaginable. They don't do anything inventive. They do everything that we've seen before just over and over for an hour and a half. All three of these spin-off movies have just been like student-made productions.
And I think like the fifth review I did The Conjuring 2 because you were out of town. In that movie, I talk about a lot what you just said, where the camera work, there's a beautiful Steadicam shot that's just haunting as motherfucker in that movie, and it's not used for music. It's well lit, it's well paced, everything about it flows perfectly. That's James Wan. James Wan is a great filmmaker, but the first and second Conjuring movies are well told stories with thought-provoking, not just thread lines, but imagery, which is why they made this fucking movie, because there's an image in it that seemed interesting, though I thought it was the stupidest thing in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
exactly.
This movie has none of that. There's nothing. If you're not going to be scary, if you're not going to be scary and make me scared in the theater, at least give me something to go home with that frightens me or makes me think about something. You don't think about anything in this movie because you don't even know what the story is. Or aside from like three people running around a castle with nuns creeping up behind them, what happened in this movie?
Yeah, exactly. Nothing happened in this movie. They did nothing with the mythology. That's where if they're going to hire some cheesy director who doesn't really know how to make effective scares, at least tell a creepy story. So maybe when we go home or as we think about how this connects to the bigger Conjuring universe, like if that's their goal in Hollywood today is to make these expanded universes, then give us something to think about where we're interested in the connections between the films.
Yeah.
There was nothing really. They just tacked on an ending that made it connect to the other films. Otherwise, there's no reason for this to be a part of this connected universe.
And if any of them were going to be thought-provoking, you would think a religious-based one might have something to say or creep you out. But no, it's just like, there's these things, there's a portal to hell, we have to close it, zombie nuns are trying to kill us. That's the fucking movie. And I'm sorry that I spoiled that. I know I told you that this was a nun spoiler review.
There was nothing special about this movie in any way, shape, or form. In fact, what little effects they use of the scary nun, they looked so much better in The Conjuring 2.
Because they were shown in like quick flashes.
Well, and they were mainly just makeup jobs on a creepy-looking actress. Now they've done a CGI mouth that they overuse a couple times in the movie, and it just never even looks like anything but a cheesy CGI creepy.
And let me ask your honest opinion after watching an hour and a half of a movie about the nun. Who and what is the nun? Why is the nun here? You don't know, right?
I have none clue.
Because there's no answers in this movie. It's not interested in that. It's just interested in a confined location with zombie nuns. It has no interest in telling a story.
And they didn't even use the zombie nun aspect could have been done a lot better. I mean, it's kind of barely used in the movie. Like you said, it's a couple times you see something in a hallway down in the distance, a nun, the shape of the nun. That's the thing I was thinking while watching the film. Like, all they need is this outline. That's all they need to work with to be creepy. I mean, it's effective for the kids, not necessarily for me. But And they couldn't even do that well. Like, they couldn't even, like, just have the Michael Myers effect of the thing in the distance and have it a couple times in the movie be effectively creepy. Not once.
Never.
Was it
That's
ever
what I
even-
was hoping for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's all I wanted out of this, because that's what they do in the Conjuring movies well.
Yeah,
But-
and yeah, they had again, they had no interest in creativity.
No.
No, it was
None.
just in your face, all right there. Take it or leave it. Like it or don't. We don't give a fuck. This is what we're putting out, and we're putting out garbage on my fucking birthday of all days, you bastards. Okay, so Sister John, I am going to prayer the nun. I think this movie's terrible. I'm going to only give it one prayer from Sister Ben. I thought it was garbage, made no sense, had no story. It's not scary, it's not interesting, it's not well shot. Don't go see this piece of garbage. This movie sucks. Sister John?
I'm right there with you. Everything you said, I completely agree. There's just so little to like about this movie, so little positive points to make about this movie. So I'm going to give it one Hail Mary.
Amen.
What is a monk's sex life like?
Is this a joke?
What kind of sex life does a nun... What kind of sex life does a monk have?
I don't know. What kind, Sister John?
None. What's black and white and red all over?
What?
Two nuns fighting over a chainsaw.
I wonder, John, if this movie would have been more interesting if it was based on the new Pastafarian religion, where people wear pasta strainers on their heads so that they can take funny-looking license plate photos. Do you think this movie would have been scarier if the nuns were running around with pasta strainers on their
Oh,
head?
hell yeah. For sure.
Honestly, I think it's a little scarier.
Yeah?
Do something like, try to scare me, boo me or something.
As scary as the movie is.
Yeah. Please like and or subscribe to Cinema Gulp today.
I'm a Pastafarian.
Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram under Cinema Gulp.
Hey, Ben. How many of our Cinema Gulpers out there actually watched this review all the way to the end?
Oh, none!